the Honourable Minister of Information and National Orientation, the Honourable Minister Foreign Affairs, all special advisors and all appointees in the House, and the permanent secretaries in the House. The Ministry of Interior, just as we know, is in charge of what we call citizenship integrity and the enhancement of internal security within Nigeria. And in the last 1 year or more, since President Bola Ahmed Tinubu assumed office as president of Nigeria, we know that there's been a lot of changes and a lot of achievements under his able leadership. The ministry, just as you know, oversees the Nigeria Immigration Service, the Federal Fire Service, the Nigerian Correctional Service, the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, the board, as well as the National Identity Management Commission, the NIMC. And in the last 1 year, I will have to start with the first major achievement of this administration has been reorientation, changing the orientation and changing the scope of expectation of Nigerians with regards to deliverables by the ministry. I would like to end at the level of the ministry, but let me start with the agencies because they are the operational units upon which we work. I'll start with the Nigerian Immigration Service. Before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into office, we had a Nigerian Immigration Service, with due respect, that I like to call a travel document issuing agency. But of course, that's not the mandate of NIS. The mandate is very clear. Border control, migration management. These are core responsibilities. And I'm happy to tell you that a lot of achievements have been recorded. I'll start by taking the issue of border control, which is very simple. Barack Obama once said, a secured border is a safe nation. Show me a country that cannot secure its borders, and I'll show you a nation that can never be safe. What did President Bola Ahmed Tinubu do what has he done in the last couple of months? We had our terrestrial border about 4,047 kilometers, mainly unmanned. But I can tell you as we speak, a lot of these border posts have been reconstructed and officers on duty to ensure that even terrestrial migration is regulated. That's number one. Number two is the fact that it will interest you that the Nigerian Immigration Service didn't have a command and control center. For a country, the biggest country in Africa, over 230 million people, and there is no command and control center for migration management. It means we're just joking. This president came, and what did he do? Within 12 months, from scratch, from foundation, a command and control center was built, and not just built, the command and control center was equipped, not just equipped, a command and control center was integrated with all security checklist and database everywhere in the world on real-time basis. And what is the result? Just 2 days ago, somebody on the red list of Interpol was apprehended in Abuja just because of the command and control center, the solution that we have. Last week, somebody on the red list again of Interpol wanted in Ireland at the point of entry was apprehended right in Lagos Murtala Mohammed International Airport. What is that telling us? It is no longer business as usual. Our border solution now, our border situation is business unusual. Nobody wanted anywhere in the world. A person of interest will get into Nigeria without Nigeria not positioned to pick such a person and hand over such person to law enforcement agencies. And the Command and Control Center, it will also interest you that within what we call the Batik Center that was commissioned by Mr. President in December, Immigration Service was established in 1964. That makes it about 60 years old, almost 61 years old. There was nothing, we'd never had a data center. Imagine an agency that deals with data of Nigerians without a data center of its own, relying on third parties. We started, and what this government has been able to build, it's arguably one of the biggest data centers in Nigeria. We started by proposing a 1.4 petabyte. What do we have now? We have an 8.3 petabyte data center. That is one of the biggest you can get anywhere in Africa. We now have that. What it means is that the security of Nigerian data, the security of even our information, and again, what I call the archival knowledge has been enhanced. It means that in the next 10, 20 years, there is a cross-reference point for our agencies and our security agencies in general. We've been able to do that. And of course, we have also been able to build what we call our visa approval center. There is no country in the world that I know where you approve visas in all embassies or consulates all over. What you have in countries are issuance, approval, going through a normal vetting process, because the visa is actually not, and I repeat, visa is not actually a travel document. Visa is a migration control document. You use it to control who comes in to your country. So a lot of background checks needed to be done. That was not present, because what we had was an officer being the recipient, the same officer being the evaluator, the same officer being the approving person, and also the issuer. There was no control. But today, we have a centralized visa approval center standing in Nigerian Immigration Service. Also, beyond that, as I speak to you, we have started the centralization of our passport issuance, because we realized that we were issuing passports in more than 50 locations. There is nowhere in the world that is done. We took this to the Federal Executive Council, and it was approved, because your passport is a security document. You hold it, but it belongs to Nigeria. That is the truth. It's a Nigerian document. It's not your document. And you centralize the issuance of this. In UK, passport is issued in only one place. In America, it's only in 2 places. In China, it is 1. But in Nigeria, we have more than 50-something issuing centers. At the end of the day, so many people carry Nigerian passport without being Nigerians. And we saw that was a dent on the image of this country. And what have we done? Get to NIS, you will see that we have centralized the passport production. We started with phase 1 with about 14 countries now being produced here and being DHL'd to the embassies in those countries. But the issuance is here in Nigeria. That gives us the authenticity, it enhances the integrity of our travel document. Beyond that, we have to also say this, that go to our airports today, you will see the e-gates. Because anywhere you go to JFK, you arrive at JFK, you arrive at Heathrow, what do you see? You see British citizens get to Heathrow, they go through their e-gate, they don't need to have business with immigration service unless they are persons of interest. But then, it was a headache. You'll be on the queue, coming to Nigeria, you get to Nigeria as a Nigerian, stay on the same queue, and other sort of stress. But what do we have today? We have e-gates installed in our airport. So when you come into Nigeria, we are welcoming you home, and we are telling you, welcome back to where you are loved and where you're welcomed. So we have been able to do this and also integrate all these solutions to all criminal database systems in the world, maybe Interpol 247, MIDAS solution, everything. We have done this, make life easier for people without compromising national security. It's about striking the appropriate balance, and I think that is what this government under Mr. President has been able to do. And guess what? All these solutions that had been built at the level of NIS, they are off-grid, because we thought about the issue of power. What we have there is about 4 megawatt solar farm that powers all this to ensure 24/7 uptime. Because just as you know, you cannot, and I repeat, you can't ensure 99% accuracy when it comes to national security, when it comes to border control. It has to be 100%. So you can't afford a blind spot. And that is one thing we have been able to do under this president. And also to our passports. When we came on board, we met a scenario where we had over 200,000 passports that were, backlogs. What did we do? Within 2.5 weeks, we cleared these passports without government investing an extra kobo. We were able to clear the whole of this. And we made a promise to Nigerians. And what was that promise? The promise we made was that this was not going to repeat itself. It's not about solving the problem. It's about making sure that there is a sustainable solution, making sure that these issues do not happen again. And as I speak to you today, go through, if you apply for a Nigerian passport, you will know the story has changed. The story has changed because Nigerians, on the average, within 2 weeks, you get your international passport. And especially Nigerians in diaspora. We also realize that the obligation of this government is not just to Nigerians in Nigeria, but of course, Nigerians all over the world. And we realized, and I want to especially appreciate the Ministry of Foreign Affairs for the support that we've had. I really want to appreciate the Ministry of Foreign Affairs because we came up with the idea and we said, listen, in a place like Canada, I can't imagine somebody flying 6-8 hours to Ottawa just because he needs to renew passport. The kind of backlog, how many people, how many applicants do we have? What is the level of the backlog? And the question is this, how many can we take at a time? There are places like in the UK where you have to wait for 4, 5, 6 months before you can get a date for capturing. That wasn't ideal. And we said, this is 2024, this is 2025, not 1985. Technology must play its role. That's the truth. Technology must play its role. And what have we been able to do? We introduced what we call the contactless passport application system for renewals, because we realized that 70% of those applying for passports are actually people looking for renewal, not first-time applicants. First-time applicants were like 30%. So what did we do? We introduced what we call a contactless solution. How does it work? Simple. We already have your biometric. So you can verify your biometric without you coming to the office. All you need to do, download the app, confirm your biometric. If it is you, we already have your details in our database anyway. If it matches, then we get you your passport and we send your passport to you. It's not something novel. It's what is done in the UK, it's what's done in the US, it's not what is done all over the world. So we think that being a Nigerian should not be stressful. It should be a sweet and pleasant experience, as Mr. President has always said. So what we decided to do, and I tell you, we started in November in Canada. We tried it in Canada. We saw that it was successful. We moved to Europe in February, and just this March, we moved to Asia. And by next month, we will now move to America, just to spread it around the world. So what it means is that to that your son, who is a student, who needs to renew his passport, he doesn't need to cancel or miss class. He doesn't need to put extra burden of buying tickets, going to hotel, lodging, waiting to be able to renew passport. He should be able to do it within 5 to 10 minutes within the comfort of his home. That is the Nigerian experience. That is what we want as the Nigerian story. A story that is built on sweet experience. That is what we have been able to do. And let me tell you, especially in Canada, a lot of our students were almost out of status because of issue of passport. There was a day, a high-level person came to my house as early as after 6 a.m., telling me, oh, my son needs a passport in Canada now. There is no date, or else the PR, how? And I said to myself, to get a passport, why must you need to know anybody? It shouldn't be. So, but with technology, you do it 5 minutes, you get it, we mail it to you from the embassy mails it to you, and you are good. And with that, and in UK, because I got a news about UK, I also have to use this opportunity to say that people, about 40,000 people, the contactless solution is live and direct in UK. In the last 2 weeks alone, or in the last 1 week plus, we've done over 1,000. Over 1,000 people. That would have taken us how many days if we had not automated the solution? So the solution is automated. So as we speak also on the issue of the passport, when we came on board, we realized that we were spending over almost 800 million naira a year doing what? Scanning documents. That when you bring your breeder document, immigration will now scan it, they will now pay, whatever. We're spending almost 800 million. But what did we do? We automated the process and said, listen, we don't have the money to waste. Why can't individuals upload their documents? And that's what we have done. And today, that has saved NIS of about 800 million naira every year. Just by that singular decision. That's part of what we've been able to do. And of course, also, we also thought that there is a need for us to bring integrity into our passport. When we came on board, we realized that whenever a Nigerian carries a Nigerian passport and travels abroad, when you get to any airport in the world, by the time you present your passport, they try to scan it, it gives a red sign. Why? Because Nigeria, our passport was not integrated to what we call the PKD. That's the Public Key Directory, which is ICAO in Montreal. And we saw that that was embarrassing the image of Nigeria. And guess what? For the first time, this particular administration got Nigeria imported into the PKI-PKD infrastructure in Montreal, Canada. That was achieved by this particular administration. What it means now is that anywhere in the world, the Nigerian passport can be certified, can be read, and the Nigerian passport is on the same scale as what you have of all other top passports you are seeing in the world. We have been able to do that. And of course, in terms of our visa administration, we also realized that for a country of 230 million, honestly speaking, Nigeria should have more people coming into Nigeria than we have. And we realized the stress with our visa acquisition process. And what did we do? We reviewed it. We submitted what we call Nigerian Visa Policy 2024 to Mr. President, which Mr. President graciously approved. And that is why last December, Minister of Creative Economy will tell you that we had more people coming into Nigeria than ever, because the whole system in terms of getting Nigerian visas were relaxed without us foregoing our security considerations. And I want to assure you further that in the next couple of weeks, we are still going to make it more seamless, because we are almost at the top of that. Well, we're introducing our e-visa rather than what we call the visa on arrival. The e-visa means you get your visa within 48 hours maximum coming into Nigeria. We have to make it easy. And the era when you will need to go to, it's compulsory you go to a visa application center for biometric before you come to Nigeria, even for 1 week, for 2 days, that era is gone. We are opening our space to make sure that we are able to bring more people into Nigeria. I don't want to dwell only on Nigeria Immigration Service and of course, our border control, maritime border control, our land border control, surveillance solution via the e-border solution is up and running as we speak. We have been able to handle about 60% of our land border, which is about 2,400 kilometers, has been covered by issue of our border surveillance. And of course, with monitoring and everything happening in a centralized location, at the level of the Nigeria Immigration Service headquarters. And of course, the remaining 40%, the phase 2, which covers the 40%, is what we are presently working on. And with that, we should be able to have an eagle view of all the 4,047 kilometers of our land border. We hope that with this, having information ahead, we'll be able to play the critical role that immigration service is supposed to play, which is border control. And of course, when support is needed, immigration can escalate to the Nigerian military for support. So these are part of the things we've done. And now to the issue of the correctional service. I will tell you that, I will just give you a small example. when we had an issue, what we call, under this administration, we've not had a jail attack. Yes, we've had 2 jailbreaks, but no jail attack. The difference, of course, is jailbreak is when people escape from correctional centers. Jail attack is when people forcefully, like what happened in Kuje years back. That is jail attack. We've not had any, and that's because of the collaboration between all our agencies, the Nigerian police, Nigerian army, DSS, NI, all of them. We've been working together, and we've employed what we call proactive policing, rather than being reactive. So that's why we've not had any. But I'll give you an example. When we had a jailbreak in Niger, in Suleja, some couple of months ago, it was difficult for us to be able to even release the details of the inmates that absconded, the fugitives, because we didn't have access to their data, to their solutions. It took us days, support of NIMSI, road safety, the BVN, and etc., to be able to get a lot of the information before we got it. But about 2 months later, we had the flood that happened in Borno, in Maiduguri. And in less than 6 hours, we had shared the biometric, the picture, all the details of all inmates. We had shared it with all security agencies. And in less than 24 hours, we started picking them up one by one. Why is it so? It is because this particular administration has successfully, in partnership with NIMSI, we've successfully captured all our inmates, and it's a constant thing, such that there is a biometric data of all inmates. What that means is that if you think you escape, you are only on the sabbatical holiday, we will pick you wherever you are. We will pick you. So these are some of the things that Mr. President has been able to do. And also, we must also know that when this particular administration came, Mr. President has increased the feeding allowance of our inmates by 50%, which is huge, regarding where we are. Yes, we are not here where we want to be, but we are not where we were, and we're not where we don't want to be. Mr. President has increased the feeding of our inmates, the feeding allowance of our inmates. That's number one. And also, Mr. President, as we speak today, you get to Kuje, you will see that Kuje Correctional Center is not where you used to know. It has changed. And ditto some other correctional centers. As we are speaking, we have not less than about 8 or 9 correctional centers that are going through one renovation or the other. As I always say this, it's easy for people to criticize. It's easy for people to say, oh, this administration, what are you doing with respect to correctional centers? We have to understand that we have 248 correctional centers. And these 248 correctional centers that we have, a lot of these were even created before people like us were born. I know that the one in Ikoyi was built in 1956. The one in Suleja, I think is this Suleja, that was 1914. Yes, Suleja was constructed in 1914. That was the year of amalgamation of Nigeria. So Mr. President inherited a lot of things that needed to be done. And of course, Rome was not built in a day. But we have started the process of renovating those correctional centers. As I always say, if years back, 20 years, 30 years, 15 years, there's been this sort of constant renovation, we will not be where we are. Mr. President is starting and doing all these things from scratch, and you get to these correctional centers, you will know that it is no longer business as usual in this center. And of course, Mr. President has also approved the process for the commencement of the process of the relocation of 29 correctional centers across the country. I'll give you an example. Imagine the correctional center in Ikoyi, a correctional center sharing a fence with the Polo Club. That's not ideal in anywhere in the world. You go to the one in Ibadan, it's inside the market. In the one in the correctional center. When there was the jailbreak in Suleja, it was impossible for us to catch them immediately because the correctional center was less than 5 meters from the next house, which is a gross violation of the law. The law says there must be a buffer of minimum of 100 meters. That is what the law says. So, but a lot of these places, urbanization has eaten up. So the president has approved that we should start that process of relocating these correctional centers to be able to sanitize our system. And of course, I have just 5 minutes, and I need to touch some other points. And of course, we must also know that over 3,000 within the last 6 months of last year of our inmates were rehabilitated. When I talk about rehabilitated, I mean inmates, because when you go to a correctional center, the name changed from prisons to correctional, because to us, the prison is a place of incarceration. But a correctional center is a place of correction, is a place of reformation, is a place of transformation. So in line with that, what have we been able to do? In the last 3 months, in the last 6 months of last year, we were able to train and empower over 3,000 of our inmates, so that once they go out of correctional centers, they will have something meaningful to do, and it will reduce the rate of recidivism. And also, let me say this before I leave correctional center, that last year we decongested our correctional center by 5%, because over 4,000 inmates were released in one day by us without government paying a dime. All we needed to do, those inmates, we did an analysis, and we realized that about 4,000 people were in correctional centers based on petty fines, inability to pay fines, some 5,000, 10,000, etc. And we reached out to the private sector. They collaborated with us, and in one day, we were able to release over 4,082 inmates in one day. What that means is that in feeding, it saves government of minimum of 1 billion naira a year. That is the savings that particular action did to the government of Nigeria. And of course, I'll go to the NSCDC. The NSCDC, just as we know, is in charge of the protection of critical national asset of government. And part of the things that the NSCDC has been able to do is, just a second. Part of the things that the NSCDC has been able to do is the establishment of what we call the mining marshals. Because what we realized was that there was a lot of crisis within the mining sector of solid minerals, and we needed to solve that solution and solve that problem. And at that time, there was a bit of controversy. Should we establish a new agency or not, and etc. But we sat down with the Minister of Solid Minerals. It was a partnership and our understanding with the Ministry of Solid Minerals, which is what Mr. President has always preached: inter-ministerial collaboration and support. And what did we do? We came up with the mining marshals. They are civil defense officers under the control of the Ministry of Solid Minerals. And the effect is what we can see today in terms of our protection of our solid mineral site. And you know that the level of crisis has actually gone down. And also, I have to also say this, that we were able in the last 1 year to destroy over 2,125 illegal refineries and oil dumps across the Niger Delta. That's part of what NSCDC were able to do. About 205 trucks conveying illegally refined petroleum products were also apprehended, and over 700 suspects arrested, and a lot of them being prosecuted as we speak. And of course, last year, we secured over 345 convictions by the NSCDC, while about 187 cases are still in court as we speak. And this is, of course, this particular administration too has been able to we have been able to train and deploy over 10,000 agro rangers across our farm settlements to be able to give support to the Ministry of Agriculture. And of course, this administration has also been able to procure over 100 operational vehicles for the corps, because we know we want them to work, and it will be wickedness if we expect them to deliver when we have not empowered them to deliver. And this particular administration under Mr. President has procured over 100 operational vehicles and about 12 gun boats to be able to secure our our assets, our maritime assets. These are some of the few. Because of time, there's a lot more to be done, to be said, but with respect to them. And of course, I'll talk about the board. The board, this is very important to me, because for the first, and I'll be very uncharitable to Mr. President if I don't say one, or my time is up, but please just give me 3 minutes to talk about the board. I'll be very uncharitable to Mr. President if I don't talk about the board, because when we came on board, we inherited promotion backlogs. But as I speak to you, to all officers in paramilitary, we do not have any promotion backlog again. Nobody. We do not. In 2 years, within 18 months, Mr. President has approved, and it has been implemented, promotion of 52,000 paramilitary officers. It has never happened. There is no officer today who works within our paramilitary structure that will say the promotion is hanging. Even as we speak, just yesterday, we started the promotion exercise, the exam for 2025. We have already started the 2025 exam. So for us, since the board was established in 1986, under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is the first time that the promotion exercise of a year did not cross into another year. That is a president who cares and listens about his people. And also, Mr. President also gave what we call hazard allowance, peculiar allowance rather, to our paramilitary officers. These are conditions of service that we've never had before. And I want to say this very critically, that for our officers in uniform, they will tell you it has never been as good as this in the Nigerian paramilitary service under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. With this, obviously, the fire service is the only one I've not spoken about, but you have to pardon me, my time is up. And I hope that in due course, we'll have time to talk more about the fire service. And of course, even the ministry, with regards to what we are doing, with regards to expatriate applications, and etc. Thank you so much, and God bless you.